This is Shane from the River Paddlers. Today I want to go over with you guys kayak camping and preparing for kayak camping and the gear loadout. So today I want to show you guys what I take with me on my trips, why I take that, and I also want you guys to see how I fit all of this in and on top of that kayak. So let's get started. So if we just start making our way down the table here, I'm going to kind of show you what I have briefly and explain why we have that. So first thing here, first aid kit. I don't really think I need to explain why you need a first aid kit. Have a decent one. That's nothing special, but basic first aid is good to have for sure. I also have the next thing here. If I can open it. Been used a couple years now, so I take a saw. I always keep this with me in the cockpit. You never know what branches you might have to cut down, what trees could be in the river if it's a smaller river, or at camp if you have to cut up firewood. It's just good to have. In this bag, this is a table. This table here I always take with me, except for the last trip I forgot it. So it's pretty simple, folds out real easily. Connects together. Top part of the table. And it literally snaps into place that easy, that quick. And you have a table. So the next thing I have a throw rope. If anyone gets in trouble, stuck in a rapid, you need to help them, that's important to have. I always have a rope. If you watched my URA trip, part one, especially that trip, we had to rappel ourselves down a really steep hill to get into the water, us and our boats. This is the rope we use for that. Also, if you get stuck in rocks and you need to pull your boat, maybe you want to have it on a rope like that, or if you just need to get your kayak out of the water and it's kind of steep, there's multiple reasons to have something like that with you. I have, for this trip, I'm going to be taking a couple coats. This is one of them I'll be taking. This is a Columbia. It's basically a rain jacket, nice and warm. This is the deck bag I will be taking. I take this deck bag on all of my trips. It's not the biggest deck bag in the world, but it does the job. So in this bag here, for this trip, it's going to be cold. So this is a waterproof beanie here that I can use if it's raining. It'll help keep me warm. These are waterproof gloves. So obviously, summer versus winter, you're going to want different items. Very important and to have accessible is a headlamp. This is a Black Diamond. I think it's their mid-grade headlamp. It does great. Make sure you have extra batteries for this thing, just because. What I also have accessible is wet ones. I always have plenty of wet ones. It's what I use to sanitize, to clean my dishes, all that stuff. I use wet ones. I have bug spray. I also have little trash bags I like to take. I don't like to do anything scented, because if there's any animals, I don't want them to give them a reason to come to my camp area. That kind of goes along with that is I also carry bear spray. I always have this with me when I'm kayak camping, and I make sure at nighttime it is close to me, and I make sure everyone in camp knows about this if they don't have their own, and they know where to find it. I also carry these are basically lanterns. They're rechargeable lanterns that I use for light at camp, and they do very good. It's light out right now. They do very good. They last a long time. and I usually have one hanging up kind of in a common area for camp, and then I have the other one usually in my hammock with me. Next thing, all this in here in this bag, this is all my toiletry items. These are my glasses, these are my contact solution, my toothbrush, toothpaste, toilet paper, all that kind of stuff is in there. Always carry a helmet with me, so I'll have that with me as well. I will have a dry waterproof pouch for my phone. I keep my phone with me because I use it for GPS when I'm on the river, and I usually take a backup pouch just in case this were to tear or something. Over here, this is so I can bilge the water out of my boat if it gets filled with water for some reason. This is my camp chair, and with this, the only thing I do a little different is, so with my camp chair, I will put the camp chair behind my seat, and I will put the fabric part, the actual chair part, in dry storage in the boat. So here I have my tarp. I use the Kelty Noah's tarp. This is a 12-foot tarp. So there have been some bad reviews. This is the newer tarp. I don't know if it's the newest one. I bought this in 2019, so it's a couple years old. A lot of people have had issues out of this tarp saying it leaks. When I got mine, I sealed the seams. I've been through a few rainstorms and have had no leakage, no issues with it. So I guess I'm not sure why the other ones leak, but I haven't had issues out of this one. In here I keep my cordage for camp. I keep all kinds of stuff in here. I dig down deep. I keep my hammock straps in there. And I also have a little mirror in here I keep for my contacts. And I keep the mirror in there because I like to keep it a little bit insulated, if you will, in the tarp. This is my toilet. I made this toilet myself. It's nice, small, and works out. So I do a lot of, obviously I record the trips, so I need some rechargeable battery power. So this is what I take. Each one of these are 30,000 mAh, which is a good bit of capacity to be able to charge your phone up or your devices. This is a 3-day trip I'm going on, and usually I'll probably use about 1.5 of these. I take 3 of them just to be safe. I've had issues before where one of these is turned on while I was kayaking, and by the time I get to camp it's completely dead because it's been on all day. So that's something that can sort of happen. I have my dry box. In my dry box is my really important stuff. So I have my the ways to recharge my GoPro batteries. Take my AirPods in case I want them at camp. I have extra SD cards in here, and I will also have my keys to my truck in there. I will have my wallet in there, and that's about all that will be in there. So we move on. So back here I have tools. I have tools that I take. I take a screwdriver, random tools, pliers. I have duct tape. This is actually Gorilla Tape, which works extremely well. I have an older boat that I use, and it just tends to have issues to where I have to fix stuff all the dang time, and this tape comes in very handy to at least get me home. I also have extra paracord here. This will fix something like a tsunami rudder, or any rudder, I guess. And I also have an extra door to my GoPro. So in here, in this container, I have more wet ones. I may not take all that I have. I have a pillow for my hammock. This is a towel. I also have a footprint that I use that I lost, so I currently have another one that's on the way that's not here yet. The footprint you put down right in front of my hammock, so I get out and I don't have to step on leaves or dirt or grass or whatever. This is my cooking pot here, my cooking cup, and I inside this I already have a gas canister, and I have an extra canister I take with me as well. I have lighters. I like to take 2 or 3 lighters, I just like to have them. I also have some fire starter sticks, just easy to get a fire going. And my utensils. So I have titanium utensils in here that I use. It's just like this, so I use that, and then I also have a backup that has all the utensils on it as well. So for me, for camp, this is my food. I eat Mountain House meals. They're just quick and easy. So something about me, I am someone who's very picky, and so it's hard for me to find stuff to eat, but Mountain House has plenty of options that even I will eat, and they're very good. For breakfast, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I eat it dry. Easy, gets me something to eat. I don't need a whole lot, so that works for me. I also have a bunch of snacks, so I like my snacks. So I will have some of these in my deck bag. I will have some tucked away so I can have them at camp. Have things like Rice Krispie treats. I love Rice Krispie treats because they're a quick snack and they're fairly substantial, so they do a little something for you. I also love my gummies. I have to have my gummies. Those 2 things are the main things I take on the river. Something that I used to take that I no longer take is beef jerky. It's just too salty. It just makes me thirsty, so I don't take that anymore. When I get to camp, I have nice camp shoes. I want to get out of the Crocs I've been wearing all day, and so these are what I wear at camp. So in this one, I keep my overquilt. It's rated, I think, 20 degrees, so it's fine for the trip I'm doing. If I was doing something where it was going to be in the teens, maybe I want something a little bit better than what I have. But what is important is everything, any piece of clothing or any part of your sleep system, you have got to make sure that stays dry. Just trust me on that one. Make sure you have good dry bags that you trust. Ocean Pack is what I mainly use. These have never done me wrong. I have always been good with these. So that's what I mainly use. In this big 20-liter one here, I keep my hammock, I keep my underquilt, and I keep my bug net, and it's all attached together so I can put it out and set it up at camp really easily. And then in this one here, also need to make sure this stays dry. These are all my extra clothing. So in here I will have clothes I want to wear the next day. I like wearing fresh clothes, even though once you're on the river for 2-3 days you smell awful. I still like fresh clothing. I like to have fresh clothes to sleep in. I like to have a nice change of clothes for camp to be more comfortable. So I make sure I have all that with me. Move over to the kayak. So obviously I have my life jacket. I have my paddle and a spare paddle. I think my wife's paddle as my spare paddle. I have water, Gatorade. I may have a little more than this. I'll show you how I pack all that. I have my skirt, and I also have my Crocs I'll be wearing, and this is my camera setup, which isn't important for this video. So I will also have a dry suit. I don't have that here. It's something that's going to be on my person, so it's not something that's going to be in the boat, so it's not real important for this video. So now I'm going to show you sort of how I pack all this up and how I fit this in the kayak. So I want to talk just a minute about the paddle that I use. There it goes on me. I use a Warner Commando paddle. It's a very good, very light paddle. So when you are on a river for 2-3 days and you're paddling, this trip isn't as many miles as a lot of what I do, but if you're paddling 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 miles or more, you want to have a good paddle because it is just way more comfortable. It's way lighter, and when you're paddling and paddling and paddling, you don't want to be fighting the paddle. So I have my good paddle and I have my Weiss paddle that I use as my backup. So I take both of those with me. So the boat I use is a Pre-On Yukon Expedition. I also have a Wilderness System Tsunami 14.5 that I used to use, and I will say they do pack pretty similar. This is my hammock gear here. I'm able to put it back here, squeeze it up top. Doesn't take up a lot of room, not as much as you think it might. Mountain House Mills. I just put them, I usually find crevices to put these. On my power banks, same thing. I don't get too fancy with what I do. So in this top portion here, if I have any more room, which I do right now, I will usually either put something like my camp shoes in the top. I wrap them up in a bag first, just like a shopping bag, or I will put some water or Gatorade or something up there. When you have stuff that is loose, you can fit it so much better than if you have everything in dry bags. That's something that you learn the more you do this. So I think that's pretty good for the front. So I got all my food up there. I have my Mountain House up here. I have most of my Gatorade. I have my clothes. I have my hygiene stuff. I have my tools. All that's in the front. Now we're going to continue with the back. So I have this other dry bag for my coat. I have this kind of half like thermal bag here that I use to put some of my drinks in. If it's summertime, I will take one of these Deer Park waters and I will dump just a little bit out and then I will freeze it. And I like these because they're pretty strong. Sometimes if you freeze some of the other ones, they'll crack on you and then you're losing your water. And nobody likes that. Being that it's going to be a winter time, it's going to be pretty cold, I'm not going to freeze any water for this trip. This was the overquilt here. Camp shoes, I try to make sure they're not in the bottom, just in case any water gets in there. They're probably not going to get wet. Dry box. Water. And then for this trip, I'm probably going to take maybe another jacket, maybe a little more water. And if you see when I do that, there's still some room in here. So I still have room in here where I can put some more water or another coat in that dry bag up there. So I do still have room in there. Everything else that is left, everything else that's left is going to go on the top area or in the cockpit. Behind the seat, I will have my chair. And, so I'll have my chair. And remember, I'm going to take the actual fabric part of the chair off, and it's going to be in the back just so it doesn't get wet. I'm going to have my tarp system and my table also back here. So the Prion has a good bit of room behind the seat. If you're using something like a Tsunami, the Tsunami has that extra room kind of in the dry storage, and it has a little behind the seat, but not as much as this boat does. First aid's important. I like to take a bunch of extra carabiners, and I usually keep them up top. I have stainless steel ones and Unijoy. These things are super lightweight and super strong. So if you need to carry your body weight or something, they're good for that. This dry box is what I keep all my extra GoPro batteries in. So with this saw, I have a carabiner that's attached inside my cockpit. So if I need it quickly for some reason, it's not going to get away from me. I just got to find that rope and I'll find it. After I make sure everything is in here that I need in here, then I go ahead and shut it. Spare paddle, very important. I tend to not take spare paddles on day trips, even though I know I should. But when you are doing kayak camping like this, you need to have a spare paddle, or you very well may regret it. So there you have it. We have turned this table that was completely filled with gear. Just so much gear, right? And we fit it all in the kayak. And for me, when I'm kayak camping, I don't like there to be a lot of extra stuff on the deck. So I have my deck bag and I have stuff in that. And I have my bilge, and honestly, I might put this in the cockpit. I do like to have my rope accessible. I like to have my helmet accessible, and the spare paddle's got to be on top. But you can even, I could fit more stuff. If I want to take more stuff, I could fit it on top. I still got a little bit of room in my compartment. It does take some time to get to a point where you are able to load a kayak up and know what you can take and know what you can't take. So what I will say is, for me, when I'm going kayaking in the summertime versus the wintertime, there are a couple differences. One of the biggest differences is if I'm going in the summertime, I'm probably not taking my overquilt. I have this little It's an Eddie Bauer, it's just a small little lightweight blanket. I will take that with me, and I have that on this trip as well. It's with my hammock and stuff. So I will have that with me in the summertime. But also in the summertime, I'm going to have a lot more water. Even for a 3-day trip, I'm going to have 2 of those Deer Park waters, and then I'm going to have a bunch of Gatorades, and I'm going to have a bunch of single waters. That's for the summertime. So now it's winter time. I'm going to have 1 of those Deer Park that you see in there. I'm going to have a good bit of Gatorade, and I'm going to have a few waters. So I'm probably going to have about half the amount of fluids as I would have in the summertime. And it's just because I don't drink as much when it's cold out or when it's chilly. I just don't. And that's something that I've sort of learned, that I don't need to carry as much. So in the summertime, I pack more water. So I have room to pack more water in the summertime because I'm not taking as much water in the wintertime. I have room for my overquilt. And that's sort of the way that I do it. So anyway, I hope this helps you out a little bit. I made sure not to look at any other reviews or any other videos before making this video because I didn't want to be swayed on how someone else does it. Anyway, that's what I do.